Hi, I'm Wendy Yellen, and this is The Art of Transformation. And before we continue, if you want to be notified of when these videos come out, and we're doing about one a week, please like and subscribe, and I really appreciate it. This particular video is for a very specific group of people. So this video is for you if you're a healer of some sort, a therapist, a counselor, a coach, a nurse, a doctor, a massage therapist, something in the helping professions. And it's particularly for you if you want to explore a little bit with me whether or not you're being traumatized by your clients and the state of the world, and whether or not that is affecting or impairing your ability to help and also your ability to stay centered and with yourself rather than overreaching or closing yourself off, because it's really important that all of you is available to yourself and to your clients or patients. So I'm going to assume that you value being present in your work and that you value excellence in what you do and that you really love helping your clients and your patients. I'm also going to assume that something feels off or you're feeling overwhelmed. Now, this could be from current events. It could be from something that's happening in your own life. It could be because of your client load, a number of things. So there's three things that we really want to address when we suspect we're being traumatized ourselves, and we want to really be there for ourselves and our clients. And number one is to increase self-awareness. And we're going to do a lot along those lines in this video. The other is to engage in self-care, and I would say extreme self-care, and to get support in all kinds of different ways. You know, if you're a healing professional, since you're a healing professional, that we all have our own wounds and our own traumas. It's just part of life. And when there are more traumas happening around us, like current events, pandemics, or just very difficult times, those more difficult times trigger and exacerbate the difficulty of just being alive. But it can also trigger our own traumas in us. And when that happens, we respond in a number of different ways. We may pull ourselves back. We may try to overhelp. We may get exhausted. We may feel like we're alone. We may feel anxious or more depressed, and generally just not present, not able to, again, be with ourselves and be with our clients. So how can we help ourselves really handle our own reaction to the world and our own reaction to perhaps being inundated by many clients who are also traumatized by what's going on in their lives? I know many years ago, I was specializing in sexual abuse in adults who'd been sexually abused as children. And the vast majority of my clients had been sexually abused, were women who had been sexually abused when they were children. And I felt like I was really handling it well. and that I wasn't overwhelming myself, and I wasn't seeing a lot of clients. So that was part of my self-care. But later, when I went on to other aspects of the work, I realized that was taking more out of me than I had realized at the time. And I was paying a lot of attention. So it can be pretty insidious when you're surrounded by people who have trauma, especially because they can trigger in you your own trauma. So, what do you do when you get traumatized or when you get overwhelmed, particularly traumatized or re-traumatized by your clients, or even by people in your life that aren't your clients? So let's talk about this as your Achilles heel. So what's your Achilles heel? Do you tend to try to learn more so that you become like an expert in the field? Do you tend to cancel sessions? Do you tend to go out further towards people and really overreach and overhelp, and then that would exhaust you? Do you tend to keep yourself very contained and okay, and everything is fine on the surface, whereas underneath you feel almost in a panic, or you feel when work is over, you feel completely bereft or used up, or you're numbing yourself? Like, what is the way that your Achilles heel, the way that you tend to respond when things aren't right for you? I know for me, a lot of the times what I do is I can get like judgmental against myself and against others. So I start to really get self-critical about myself, how I'm not doing it good enough, whatever it is. You know yourself well, I'm sure, on many levels. So you pay attention to if the way your Achilles heels operate, the way your default mode comes up in yourself, in your work, and in your private life too. So that's the first step, is to notice how you're being triggered. And the first step is to notice and to know yourself. And then the second step is to notice. The third step is to respond to yourself first, just like in the plane with the oxygen, right? So that you can stay present, which I know is a value for you, and available for the work first of being able to be with yourself, because that's where the work will come from, and then to be able to be with your client or patient. Now, if you can find ways to do this, then you'll be more creative, number one. Number two, you'll be more accessible. You'll be able to know your own response to what's coming to you, and have a more subtle understanding of what's coming in, of what the person is saying. You'll have more resources inside of you to be able to respond to them in creative, supportive, and even loving awareness ways. You'll feel more real. It's really important, right? And more helpful. So instead of deadening your response to too much trauma coming in from the world and your clients, you become more alive to yourself and to them. If you're dealing with groups, then you may notice that the other people in your group are being triggered by other people's trauma response, or other people over talking about politics or the pandemic, or whatever it is that is currently in the atmosphere that people are responding to. So you can see, of course, you know this, you can see other people in the group getting triggered, getting traumatized. And then how do you deal with that? Well, if you're over traumatized yourself, or if you're triggered yourself, you won't have a clue. But if you're noticing how you're getting affected by the way your clients are reporting things and by world events, and you get the support, whatever way that is for you, then again, you'll be able to respond cleanly and clearly. What if people are locked in fear? And what if that triggers your fear? So their fear is real, sounds real, feels real, but if you join them in that, then you're not going to be able to help. All those things may be true, but they're responding to their own fear in their own idiosyncratic way from their own Achilles heel. And of course, if you join them in that, you're not going to be able to help at all. Now, I know that you know this, and I'm particularly suggesting that you pay attention to this from the point of view of group world trauma and getting triggered by what seems to be the response in the world, and then feeling so buried by it yourself that you can no longer respond. The key, again, is to know your own Achilles heel, to notice what's happening, to notice your own numbing response, for example, or overreaching, overhelping response, or whatever it is for you, and then to stop, take a couple breaths for sure, extra deeper breaths, and then find a way to deal with your own stuff so you can deal better with both yourself and others. Are you leaving the conversation? Are you leaving yourself? Are you leaving them? Are you going up into your head? And while your client is with you and maybe numbing out or thinking a lot, trying to get yourself to stay by overusing your head. That's probably something that's familiar to you. And if you're doing that, really, really know that, yes, that's protective, but you're removing yourself from the best you for you and for your own mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health, but also for your clients. And since, again, that's a value for you, you don't want to keep doing that. So you don't want to leave. You don't want to be so distant in order to protect yourself that there's nobody home. You may find that you're trying too hard to solve things, to suggest perhaps. That can be a really insidious way for a helper to go, is to try too hard to help. I know when I took a family therapy fellowship training after my clinical social work degree, master's in social work, and the trainers in the in the clinic that I took the fellowship at were shaking their heads, and they were saying that I was really hopeless because I was trying too hard to help. Now, this was news to me at that point. I had, just graduated. After all, I was a clinical social worker. Wasn't I supposed to help? But they were really keying in on something super important, which was that if you try too hard to help, all kinds of things can happen. First of all, you get too far into the other person and you lose your perspective. Second of all, you take over and they can't help themselves. Third of all, what you think will be helpful is more coming from your head, and it really needs to come from deep within that person. So when you're trying too hard to solve things, then you've kind of left the room. And in fact, they'll probably leave the room too. And I don't mean physically, although that could happen too, but emotionally and mentally. So all of these are reasons. They're warning signs for you to notice, okay, this feels like too much, either cumulatively from all your clients or just this specific client and where they tend to go and how they tend to perseverate on certain things that are going on. And so you really want to notice that self-awareness. That is really an important step. And then get more support for yourself so that you can come through as the well-trained, robust clinician that you are. That's my suggestion for your homework, so to speak. Really, really notice how often it happens. Don't give yourself a hard time about it, but realize that it can be very tough to deal with lots of people who are traumatized and wanting to tell you about that trauma over and over, or holding back about it. And then your own response can be part of the problem. All right. I hope that was helpful to you, and I'll see you on the next recording. Bye for now.